was time to tighten up. Yeah, I woke up feeling like it might be a good day to get it done. That's right. Oh, the stadium is just like my second house. Now I'm two-tone talking, they can't shut my mouth. I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah. I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Okay, welcome back to Two Tone Talk. I have no idea what just happened. We were live for like 15 minutes on YouTube, and then the whole thing crashed. I have absolutely no idea what happened. Everything froze. I had just started giving my 53-man roster predictions, and everything froze. I had to shut the computer down, restart it, and when I turned it back on, everything was gone. It was as if the previous 15 minutes had not even happened. So I have absolutely no idea what just happened there. I don't know what is going on, but I am back live now, and I have no evidence that 15 minutes of recording ever happened. So, whatever. If you're listening on Spotify and SoundCloud, that's what's just happened. And if you're on YouTube, I'm going to give everybody time to tune back in. I have absolutely no idea what just happened. Everything froze, and now everything that was on the computer is gone. I don't know. But what I had talked about, let me just give you the summary version of what I was talking about. I had just talked about the Titans-Saints game yesterday, talked about how pleased everybody should be with what we saw from the offense, not too pleased, as Brian Callahan said. It's still preseason, going against a lot of the Saints backups, but Will Levis, Tyler Boyd, Calvin Ridley, the offensive line was great. Pollard was really good. Spears, again, I reiterate, what the heck are you thinking going for that hurdle in a preseason game? Are you out of your mind? And then you have defensively, Tavondre Sweat was really good. A very encouraging performance from him. And of course, live moments ago, before everything crashed, we got the news of Chance Campbell with a torn ACL, and he is out for the year, and that is bad news for the Titans. Obviously, Chance Campbell had a phenomenal preseason. He was a lock to make the roster and to be in the rotation to actually play, and now he is done for the year, and what a bummer for him. And I mentioned that I kind of had a bad feeling yesterday that that's where this was heading. Knee injury, had to be helped off the field, threw his helmet in frustration, but that's terrible news for Chance Campbell, terrible news for the Titans, and leaves a hole at that inside linebacker position. And as far as my 53-man predictions, this presentation that I'm about to show here on the video is something I put together last night before this news officially got out. So again, spoiler alert, Chance Campbell is a part of these predictions, but we will cross that bridge when we get to it. I just started in with my 53-man roster predictions when everything froze up and everything kind of went to nothing, but we're back going now, and because we weren't too far into it, I could just start over. But very encouraged by what I saw from the Titans with an undefeated preseason. I did want to give a shout out that because I gave the shout out before and I want it to be documented, that I want to give a shout out to Thomas Odukoya for the effort that he gave it yesterday, really killing the narrative that preseason games don't matter to these guys, because he chased down the dude who was trying to kick sixes at the end of the half. Phenomenal effort by him, and Nicholas Petit-Frere, who is the starting right tackle for this team, had also chased that dude down. Great effort. I think that is a good summary of what I had talked about so far on the other version. And now I can get to my Titans 53-man roster predictions. Everybody is giving their 53-man roster predictions. The final rosters and cuts and everything are due by tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. There will probably be some cuts today as maybe even as I'm recording this. So let's get to it. The Titans 53-man roster predictions. And as I had said, I'm going to start with special teams because we already kind of know who these three guys are going to be. And there they are: long snapper Morgan Cox, punter Ryan Stonehouse, kicker Nick Folk. I know a lot of people love Narvison, who's been making all these kicks at the preseason, but Brian Callahan made it clear they are sticking with Nick. They're going to stick with Nick as their kicker. And I know some people are conflicted about that, but it does appear that the Tennessee Titans are sticking with him. So these are the first three spots on my 53-man roster because I think everybody kind of knows this. Long snapper Morgan Cox, punter Ryan Stonehouse, kicker Nick Folk. We go ahead and get those out of the way. And now we go to the defense. I'm going to start with the defense here with that interior defensive tackle. This is where it froze for me a second ago. The interior defensive tackle. And so we're going to start with those first three guys that we already know. They're no-brainers. They've been no-brainers the whole time. Jeffrey Simmons, Tavondre Sweat, and Sebastian Joseph Day. These three guys are no-brainers. We've known it the whole time. They're going to be, they're going to be the guys that are no-brainers. So that's just go ahead and get that out of the way. Now, as far as more depth at that position, I would love to have more than just these two, but these are the two guys that I'm going to go with. First of all, on the right there, we have Keandre Coburn. Keandre Coburn was a guy that I knew could be one of those rotational guys even coming into the preseason, but with the way that he's played in the preseason, I think Keandre Coburn's a no-brainer. His history with Tavondre Sweat, but not even just that. I think Keandre Coburn has played well, and I think he can be a good piece to come in and give these guys a break when they need it. I think Keandre Coburn can be a quality rotational defensive tackle for the Titans. He's not a starter, but whenever Big Jeff needs to get water, whenever Tavondre Sweat needs to get water, this is a guy that can come in and play well for them for a couple of plays. And the other guy I've got there is T.K. McClendon. That's the guy I'm going to give the spot. Now, this fifth spot on the interior defensive line, some people are going to say Quentin Bohanna. There's some other names. I've even seen people say the Isaiah Iton. I'm going to go with T.K. McClendon just because I think he's more versatile. I think he can play, more positions on the defensive line. But ultimately, if you want to go with Quentin Bohanna here, I'm not going to argue with you. I just, it's kind of a toss it up in the air and pick a guy. And I chose T.K. McClendon to provide some of that more defensive line depth. So that's my five tackles that I'm taking to the roster: Simmons, Sweat, Sebastian Joseph Day, Keandre Coburn, and T.K. McClendon, plus the three special teams guys, and we have 8 spots on the roster filled. And now we continue on, unfortunately, to inside linebackers. And this is sad because we just got the news about Chance Campbell, but there's a catch to this. So hear me out here. I'm still a little concerned about the inside linebackers. Obviously, you have your two starters, Jack Gibbons and Kenneth Murray. Those are going to be your two starting inside linebackers. And by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to click the like button to get me into that algorithm. But Jack Gibbons and Kenneth Murray, they're the two locks. They're the two starters. A lot of positivity coming out of camp about these guys. I'm still skeptical about our starting two linebackers. I'm skeptical about the entire linebacker group. I'm still very concerned. And let me tell you why. You have those two kind of leading the way as starters, and now you get to some depth pieces. These two, first of all, Otis Reese. I'm not sure what the situation was with Otis Reese yesterday. He didn't play. Some people said he was a healthy scratch, and so they felt like that was bad news for him, that he was healthy and he was ready to go, and they just didn't play him. So some people were like, that's probably not good news. But then I heard that Otis Reese was a little bit banged up, and so that's why he didn't play. Or maybe he's a lock for the roster, and they felt like they didn't need to see him, but I find that hard to believe because Jack Gibbons and Kenneth Murray both played some yesterday. I don't know, but I think Otis Reese at this point, especially with the Chance Campbell news, I think you have to put Otis Reese on the roster. I think you have to. I think that at this point, when it comes to inside linebackers, beggars really can't be choosers. So you got Jack Gibbons and Kenneth Murray as the starters, and I think Otis Reese is probably linebacker 3 at this point. And then the other guy there is James Williams, a safety drafted out of Miami that they are converting to linebacker. And he's a guy that everybody's excited about. He's been playing really well. in the preseason, but you have to keep in mind this is a guy that's learning, not just because he's a rookie, but because he's a rookie who is swapping from safety to linebacker. So he's got learning to do. He is a gritty player. He flies after the ball. He's a menace on defense, but he's still learning. And I don't know early on in the season how confident they're going to be to put James Williams. I absolutely think he's making the roster. Absolutely, he's making the roster. But I don't know how confident they're going to be to put him in there. And then we get to the final. I mean, I gave this, unfortunately, this is the sad part, because Chance Campbell, I had him making the roster, even though I had a bad feeling about his injury. Now we know it's a torn ACL. He's done for the year. And then you have the other guy pictured there, and that is Cedric Gray, incoming rookie who everybody was excited about. He's had an injured shoulder. He hasn't even really done anything. He didn't play in any of the preseason games. Brian Callahan made it clear this Cedric Gray, he's going to be behind the 8 ball. He's got to try to catch up. He didn't get all the reps in training camp and preseason like the other guys did. And so he's going to, and we don't even know the extent of his injury. We don't even know how long Cedric Gray is going to be out, especially now knowing that Chance Campbell is out. I think in terms of Chance Campbell, I think they're going to have to go get somebody to replace him, because Cedric Gray, even if he becomes healthy tomorrow, Cedric Gray is a rookie who's missed a lot of time, so he's not going to just be ready to get out on the field right then. I mean, he's an incoming rookie. He's going to have some time to even get used to being out there. So I'm a little concerned, because if you have 6 inside linebackers, you have 2 starters that I'm skeptical of. You have Otis Reese, who's, people's opinions of him vary. James Williams, who shows a lot of promise, but he's a rookie swapping positions. He's still learning. And then you have Chance Campbell, who's going to IR. You have Cedric Gray, who we don't even know the extent of his injury or when he's going to be back. Here's what I'm going to predict. Let's just say they replace Chance Campbell with some other linebacker from some other team that's about to get cut. Somebody else's cuts, the Titans get somebody to replace Chance Campbell. Let's just say, because I didn't know when I put this presentation together that Chance Campbell was going to be out for the year. So let's just say they pick up another linebacker to replace Chance Campbell. I am going with an assumption here that they are putting Cedric Gray on IR. I'm going to go with the assumption because he hasn't even been close to getting out there. We're not really hearing any encouraging word on him. So I am going forward with the assumption that Cedric Gray makes the roster and then they put him on IR. So he's here. The Titans keep him around, but he's not taking up one of the 53 spots. Okay? So just make sure we're all on the same page. Cedric Gray makes the roster, gets bumped to IR. Chance Campbell gets replaced by some other linebacker that's about to get cut from somewhere else. And Cedric Gray goes to IR, so he's on the team, but he's on IR, so it opens up a roster spot. Okay? So let's just get that out of the way. Cedric Gray makes the team, but he goes to IR, so he doesn't take up a roster spot. So, okay. Now, on that note, who takes that roster spot that Cedric Gray has left open? On that note, let's talk about edge rushers. Keep it in mind, who takes that roster spot that Cedric Gray leaves by going to IR? Well, first of all, we have these two, Harold Landry and Arden Key, no-brainers. We all know they're making the roster. They're the starters. And they're going to have to stay healthy and play well. Because the Titans' edge rushers, I'm worried about the depth there as well. Even though I like these two guys, I think the third best edge rusher on this team right now is Jalen Harrell. He's a lock to make the roster. 7th round rookie out of Michigan. He's had a great preseason. The coaches have raved about him. And I think Jalen Harrell, if Harold Landry or Arden Key needs water, if Harold Landry or Arden Key tweaks an ankle and they got to come out for a little bit, I think the first guy you're looking to right now is Jalen Harrell. And I didn't see that coming. 7th round rookie. I think Jalen Harrell is the third best edge rusher on the team right now. And I don't even think that's debatable. I don't even think it's debatable. So I've got Jalen Harrell as a lock to make this roster. And then up next, the 4th best edge rush, I'm giving it to Caleb Murphy. I think Caleb Murphy makes the roster. I think he's the 4th best edge rusher. I think he has surpassed Rashad Weaver in the battle for edge rush. And edge rush is so important. I think you could argue it's the most important position on the defense. You've got to be able to get to the quarterback. And I'm not confident that Caleb Murphy can do it consistently. I personally believe instead of Caleb Murphy, I would love for the Titans to go out and pick up somebody off free agency or pick up somebody that gets cut, but I'm not going to go into that because that's a rabbit hole. So I'm just going to put Caleb Murphy on the 53-man roster right now because I think he's surpassed Rashad Weaver. But speaking of Rashad Weaver, I mentioned we're putting Cedric Gray on IR. That leaves an open spot, and I'm going to give that spot to Rashad Weaver because the Titans need this dude to figure it out and see if he can get back to that 2022 Rashad Weaver that had all of those sacks. Treat it as though, hey, Cedric's on IR, so we're going to put Rashad Weaver on the roster, see if he can figure it out, and if he can't, when Cedric's ready, we'll bring him back and let Rashad Weaver go. Or they could do what I said and not put Rashad Weaver on the roster and just go get an edge rush from somewhere else, that somebody that gets cut, somebody that's a free agent, bring them in, put them ahead of Caleb Murphy, and then maybe Caleb Murphy is the guy that takes Cedric Gray's spot on the roster just to see what he can do. But for right now, I'm going to give Cedric Gray's spot on the roster to Rashad Weaver just to see if this guy can figure it out, because he sure ain't figured it out this preseason. God bless the guy. He has not figured it out this preseason. That's all the edge rushers that I have making it. So, 3 special teams guys, 5 interior defensive linemen, that's 8. Then we took 6 inside linebackers, but one of them goes to IR. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 spots on the roster filled. And then 5 edge rushers, 18 spots have been filled so far. Now we go to corners. Obviously, you've got the no-brainers, the starters, which I'm a little concerned about the fact that Snead and Awuzie have not been out there in a couple of weeks. I know they're studs and we're all ready to get them out there, but I am a little concerned that they haven't even taken the field hardly. But they're a lock. These 3 guys here, Snead, Awuzie, and Roger McCreary, those are the starters. Done deal. Okay. They're on the roster. Who do you take with them? I'm going to say these 2 guys right here. First of all, on the right, you've got the rookie, Jarvis Brownlee. I think he's a no-brainer. Yes, he struggled more as the preseason went on. You know, he held his own against the 49ers. Everybody was excited. Against the Seahawks and especially against the Saints, looked a little more like a rookie, but he's finding his way. Jarvis Brownlee makes the roster, and I've got Gabe Judy-Lawley making the roster too, because I absolutely think that he is better than Trey Avery. I think he is more talented. I think that he brings more to the table. So I've got these 2 guys providing some depth, Jarvis Brownlee and Gabe Judy-Lawley making the roster. And I've got one more corner going too, and this one might be a little surprising. I've got Eric Guerra making the roster. Because I think he can contribute on special teams, but also, I mean, we saw him with a nice punt return yesterday, so if you need him to do that, he can. And I like this guy. I mean, if you remember last preseason, there were a lot of people excited about Eric Guerra and the way he was playing fast, way he was flying to the ball. He's obviously like, he would be the 6th guy, but I think I would not only take Gabe Judy-Lawley over Trey Avery right now. Shout out to Titan Anderson in the chat there. Not only would I take Gabe Judy-Lawley over Trey Avery right now, I think I would take Eric Guerra over Trey Avery right now, just because of what he brings to special teams. And if he had to get in there, I like the way the guy flies around. And you've seen a lot of people on Titans Twitter saying, hey, look out for the possibility of Eric Guerra making this 53-man roster. You know? So I like kind of him providing that depth and what he brings to special teams. I've got Eric Guerra. I've got 6 corners. So I believe that gets us to 24 spots filled. Now we go to safety. And I'm pulling no punches here. This is exactly what you would expect. First of all, you've got Amani Hooker, Quandre Diggs. Okay. Absolutely. No doubt about that. And then to provide some depth there, I'm going with Jamal Adams, who I believe is the Patrick Beverly of the NFL. He runs that mouth. But of course, Jamal Adams and Elijah Molden, who is being evaluated for a concussion right now, but I assume he'll be ready by week 1. I'm taking those 4 safeties. Quandre Diggs, Amani Hooker, Elijah Molden, Jamal Adams. So, between special teams and defense, that is 28 spots out of the 53-man roster filled. Okay? Now, we go to offense. And I told you, I've had a change of heart about some things. And we're going to get to that. Because now we're going to offense. 28 spots have been filled. We're going to start with the running backs. First of all, you've got your 2 obvious ones. Tajay Spears, Tony Pollard, no brainer. We know they're making it, okay. And I'm very excited about that 1-2 punch. Especially, I'm more excited about Pollard than I was. And then I've got Julius Chestnut making it. I think Julius Chestnut, but people forget, Julius Chestnut has made this 53-man roster in the past. Even in the Vrabel days, Julius Chestnut has made this 53-man roster in the past, and they were going to use him and he got hurt. So Julius Chestnut, I think we've seen more than enough from him this preseason that he's going to be that third running back behind Spears and Pollard, and I think he deserves it. He's played really well. But it doesn't stop there, because I believe they are going to take Hassan Haskins to the 53-man roster as well. Not necessarily to play running back, but I think because of what he brings to special teams. Brian Callahan last week called Hassan Haskins a special teams menace. He seemed very excited about what Hassan Haskins brings to special teams. And so I think that's why Hassan Haskins is going to find a spot on this 53-man roster. Not necessarily, I guess if they got in an emergency situation, he could play some running back if he had to. But I think he's going to be a special teams guy, and I think, they're going to put him back there. They did this yesterday. I think they're going to put him back there with Jaquan Jackson to return kicks, because if they kick it away from Jaquan, somebody's got to get it, and I think Hassan Haskins may be that guy to be back there and return kicks with him. So I think that's 4 running backs, but really Haskins is there for special teams. We've got 32 spots filled, and we're going to wide receivers, and I have no tricks up my sleeve with this one either. I got these 6 guys right here. The 6 you would expect: Ridley, Hopkins, Boyd, Burks, NWI, and Jaquan Jackson. I've got those 6 guys and no others. I've got those 6 guys and no others. Some people have debated, do they take a 7th guy? Broski Bear is got to be a Bears fan. They're in the chat trolling. The people have debated, do you take Kearis Jackson? Do you take Mason Kinsey? Do you take Kyle Phillips? I don't think you do. Some people will debate me on this. I don't think it's necessary. As a Titans fan, look at the picture of these 6 guys together if you're watching on YouTube. We used to pray for times like this. I saw somebody yesterday who said, it's cruel irony, because in the past, Bryce Oliver, who really had a good preseason with the Titans, with a breakout preseason like that, he might have made the 53-man roster over the last couple of years. But now, with Ridley and Boyd and Hopkins and Burks and NWI, he's not going to make it, And so, or at least I'd be very shocked if he did, even though he had a solid preseason and he's got a probably good career ahead of him. I think these are the 6 guys who make it and no more, because I don't see the merit in filling a roster spot with Kyle Phillips. God bless Kyle Phillips. He'll be let go and somebody will pick him up. But I think in terms of like a guy like Mason Kinsey or a guy like Kearis Jackson, I think you can get those guys back on the practice squad and have them there ready to elevate at any time if you need them. I think if you get in a situation where somebody gets hurt or you want to take an extra receiver, you'll have the opportunity to do that with some of those guys later. But for right now, I'm taking these 6 wide receivers and that's it. Because I don't think I think filling a roster spot with any more wide receivers than that, I feel like, why? I don't even feel like it's necessary. I know people love Mason Kinsey, and I get that he has a fan club, but I'm taking these 6 guys. So we're up to 38 spots filled, and we go to the offensive line. Offensive line. So, right off the bat with the O-line, we've got our starting five. And these are the starting five. Brian Callahan has made it clear. Very different than Mike Vrabel. Vrabel would have drugged this out to the last second. We would have been going into the game against Chicago like, who the heck is starting? But with Brian Callahan, he literally said, this is the starting five. From left to right, J.C. Latham, Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry, Dylan Radins, and Nicholas Petit-Frere. They've played very well in the preseason, and Brian Callahan has made it clear these are the best five. And I want to say, I posted it on Twitter yesterday. You can go check it out. I'm telling you, Lloyd Cushenberry on that screen to Nick Vanette, this guy, like, he was like Goldberg, spearing this dude into the turf when he blocked him. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about this offensive line, and I'm excited about Bill Callahan being here to coach him. I think that's just going to be even a bigger difference maker than people thought. But these are the starting five. Now, who provides depth? I think it's these three guys right here. Jerron Christian, Andrew Rupkich, Daniel Brunskill. I'm taking these three guys, and that's it. I'm taking 8 offensive linemen to the initial 53-man roster. Because the way I think of it is, I look at the starting five. If any of these guys get hurt in a game, do we have somebody who can go in and play for them? And with these three, the answer is yes. If Lloyd Cushenberry tweaks an ankle and he's got to go out of the game, you can put Daniel Brunskill in there for him. You might could even put, has Rupkich ever played in East Center? I don't think so. But you can at least put Brunskill in there for Cushenberry if he gets hurt. Okay. Let's look at the guards. If Dylan Radins gets hurt, you could put Daniel Brunskill or Andrew Rupkich in there for him. If Peter Skoronski gets hurt, you could put Daniel Brunskill or Andrew Rupkich in there for him. If J.C. Latham goes down and gets hurt, you can put Jerron Christian in there for him, or if it's a better option, you can move Dylan Radins over there and then put Brunskill or Rupkich in for him on the right guard position. If NPF goes down and gets hurt, you can put Jerron Christian in, or you can move Dylan Radins out there, let him play some right tackle, bring Brunskill or Rupkich in. I don't think there is a need for Jalen Duncan. I know that's the big name that's missing. People are wondering, is Jalen Duncan going to make the roster? If it's me doing it, I don't think I would. Because I think you can get him back on the practice squad. And I also think with these three backing up the starting five, I think it's all the depth you need. I don't think there is, I mean, if you just have a free spot and you want to give it to Jalen Duncan, but I think you take these three guys in addition to the starting five and you've got all the depth you need because of guys on the starting five that can move around and play different positions in an emergency as well. So, and Daniel Brunskill's had a good preseason, and he's, I think he's a quality backup. So that's who I'm going with. Some people would argue instead of Jerron Christian, you could take Jalen Duncan instead, but I'm going to go with Christian just because he's a veteran, been in the league longer. Okay, so that's 8 offensive linemen. We have filled 46 of the 53 spots, and we go to tight ends. So I do want to say this. We've got the first 2, which are obvious. You have got Josh Wiley and Chig Okonkwo. And I don't know which one is tight end 1 and tight end 2, because when they put the depth chart out, they were tight end A, tight end B, like 1A, 1B. I don't even know where the heck Chig Okonkwo is. I mean, I saw him in there yesterday. Has anybody heard anything about Chig Okonkwo? I mean, this guy is, and I'm not saying this is an indictment on him, but it's like, man, he's just not been mentioned at all. He's not the only one. I've also said in the past, I don't think Harold Landry's really been talked about a whole lot this preseason. But Chig Okonkwo is a lock to make the roster, of course. So is Josh Wiley. Those are your starting 2. Any other tight ends? Well, I think the guy we saw making plays yesterday is this guy right here, Nick Vanette. I think he was a lock to make the roster, and I think he's even more of a lock now after watching the way that he made plays yesterday. Nick Vanette needs to be on this roster. I like what he brings to the table. I like what he brings to the offense. I like them with design plays to get the ball to him yesterday. So Nick Vanette, pretty much in the Jeff Swaim role, but I think he's much better than Jeff Swaim. Any other tight ends? Of course. Because I think this big fella right here, David Martin Robinson. Are you kidding me? Absolutely, David Martin Robinson's making the 53. This isn't even a hot take anymore. Everybody's got David Martin Robinson. These coaches have raved about David Martin Robinson. This guy, nobody even knew who he was hardly 3 weeks ago. But this guy made play after play after play after play this preseason. He's big, but he's fast. So not only do I think he's going to make the roster, but I think he's not just going to be a guy who shows up and sits on the bench. I think he's going to play. He's going to get in there. He's going to get in there and he's going to play in games for real. And I'm excited for it because, like I said, he's big, he's fast, and I am officially buying in to the David Martin Robinson hype. I'm excited about this guy. I like him. That's 50 spots filled on the 53. 50. And we go to quarterbacks. Told you I had a change of heart. First of all, you got Will Levis, Mason Rudolph. Will Levis, I think you have to be encouraged by what you saw from him yesterday. He's going to get his chance to be the guy in Nashville. Mason Rudolph, absolutely QB2. Thought Mason Rudolph actually showed good pocket presence yesterday. He really had a good preseason. And I still stand by the fact that I think Mason Rudolph is a great backup quarterback. But that's 52. That's 52 spots. Because remember, we put Cedric Gray on IR. I don't know if he's going to go to IR, but I have him on IR. I think he's going to make it. I think Malik Willis is going to make this roster. I think Malik Willis is going to make it. And I have been vocal for weeks about the fact that I don't think Malik Willis is going to make the roster. I've been vocal about that. And I'm here to tell you right now, if it were just solely up to me, if they said, hey, Brad, you put together the 53-man roster, we'll go with it. I can't guarantee that I would put Malik Willis on there personally, but I saw something in Brian Callahan's eyes yesterday when he was talking about Malik Willis and the way he played in that fourth quarter. I know it was against third stringers, but a nice throw to Bryce Oliver on that first touchdown. And then on fourth down with the game on the line, it's preseason. But hey, to those guys that are in there late in the game, that's everything. They're trying to make rosters, okay? Nice touchdown to Bryce Oliver for the second one. Brian Callahan, unless he's lying, said in his postgame presser, he said, does that factor into whether or not he makes the roster or not? Absolutely. And I think Malik Willis, he's improved. I think what we've seen from him this preseason, it is the best that I have ever seen him look in the NFL. He looks more poised. He looks more confident. Doesn't look as chaotic. He's not as good as Mason Rudolph. He is that case has been closed a long time. But if they cut him, and they still may, this is just my guess, but if they cut him, somebody's going to pick him up immediately. Some other team is going to pick him up immediately because in spite of all of his flaws over the years, this preseason, he has shown enough potential. I could see the Ravens looking at this guy and being like, hey, that's a good backup for Lamar Jackson right there. He's not Lamar Jackson. Don't take that as me saying he's on par with Lamar. He's not. But I'm saying if Lamar got hurt, and they had to go with somebody else for a couple weeks, somebody that could come in and run the ball, in a way similar to Lamar. If you cut Malik Willis, somebody's going to pick him up, and his days as a Tennessee Titan are over. And is that the end of the world if that happens? Probably not. I would venture to say no. But if you've got a guy that you still, because he's still young, he's a kid. If you've got a guy that you still feel like there is potential there for him to be something, I think the Titans are going to be, I remember what the Falcons said about Michael Penix when people asked him why the heck they drafted him at 8. They said, man, I know it doesn't make sense to a lot of people, and to me, it still doesn't make sense, but they said when you have a quarterback that you feel good about, you gotta take a shot and get him on the roster. I mean, and that's what it boils down to. How do they feel about Malik Willis? Did they feel like there is enough? There is enough there to where they could say, you know what? We need to keep him around. We need to keep him in the building. Because here's something we don't like to think about. What if Will Levis is just not it? What if he turns out to just not be the guy? What if it doesn't work out with Will? What if he gets hurt? Or what if it doesn't work out with him? Well, you have the guy from the year before you took in the 3rd round in Malik Willis that in that situation you could put in there and just see. Before you go out and do whatever you're going to do next offseason in the situation that Will Levis is not good, you just see. Maybe. I don't know. Again, I'm not saying it is what I would do personally, but it's what I think they are going to do. I just saw something about Brian Callahan that I think he is intrigued by Malik Willis enough that I don't think he would want to cut him and let him go somewhere else just yet. Now, keep in mind, that's 53. It's technically 54 because I included Cedric Gray and I put him on IR, but I don't know if he's going on IR. I don't know, especially with the Chance Campbell injury, which I hate. I see a lot of people in the chat talking about that. I hate the news about Chance Campbell as well. But if Cedric Gray doesn't go to IR and you fill a roster spot with him, then maybe Malik doesn't make it, or maybe Rashad Weaver doesn't make it. That's a possibility too. And David Brown in the chat says Malik isn't better than Mason. I agree. If we're talking about QB2, it's Mason Rudolph. I'm talking about taking 3 quarterbacks, which I have said they're not going to do. But there's just something about yesterday. Something about the look in Brian Callahan's eye. I was like, he's at least considering it. He is considering taking Malik to the 53, having 3 quarterbacks, and having Malik there just in case. Maybe not. Maybe not. But that is my 53-man roster prediction. And again, a lot of it hinges on whether or not Cedric Gray goes to IR or not. If you fill a roster spot with Cedric Gray, and I'm assuming maybe you fill in somebody else for Chance Campbell, because I'm not jumping for joy about what we've got at linebacker right now. I'm excited about James Williams. I just think he's young and he's having to transition to a new position. It's going to take time. I'm a little worried about that. I'm worried about edge depth, as are all of you. And so, I think that David Brown said if we keep 3 QBs, which position loses that extra player? I don't know how everybody else's roster predictions shake out. I've got 8 offensive linemen. Most people have 9. I'm taking 8. I'm leaving Jalen Duncan off. I had the starting 5, and then Jerron Christian, Andrew Rupkich, Daniel Brunskill. But we'll see. Listen, it's going to be a tough roster cut because, if in doing something like keeping 4 tight ends with David Martin Robinson kind of emerging, you want to have plenty of depth at edge rush. You want to have plenty of depth at corner. But the problem is, in a lot of positions, especially on defense, the Titans have great starters, but not a whole lot of depth after those starters. And corner's one of those positions. Yes, Snead, Awuzie, McCreary, that's great. But after that, Brownlee's a rookie that doesn't look ready yet. Gabe Judy-Lawley is just kind of a hope and pray. Trey Avery, if he makes it, I don't think anybody's feeling good about it. And the other guy was Eric Garrer, who's just kind of an experiment. Caleb Farley ain't making it. I was glad to see him get in the game yesterday, but Caleb Farley ain't making this roster. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. You want to have depth. And for that reason, maybe Malik doesn't make it. Maybe they'd rather have depth somewhere else. But something about the way things went yesterday makes me think that Malik Willis has got a legitimate chance to make this roster. We'll see, though. By tomorrow at 4 Eastern, 3 Central, we will know who the 53 are, and we will be talking about it. You better believe it. Thank you guys for tuning into Two Tone Talk today. Sorry for the technical difficulties that happened back at the start of the episode, and I hope everybody has a good day. Tighten up. Leave me your 53-man roster predictions, why you agree with me, why you disagree with me in the comments. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.